When you discovered the law of attraction, you started to believe anything was possible. Life got better, much better. Now you want more, but it's not working. That's where the Manifest It Now show comes in. If you've been waiting for someone who can teach you the practical application to manifest quicker and easier while having more, turn the volume up, because the dynamic duo, Cassie Parks and Ginny Gain, are ready to teach you how to live the law of attraction like they do. It's time to laugh and learn.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our finale of Manifest It Now episodes. I'm here with Cassie Parks.
And I'm here with Ginny Gain for our... Oh, go ahead.
We're going to talk about today creating space to help and make that manifesting the best it can be.
Yes, which is what we're doing, both for you and for us. So this is the last episode this is episode number 304. So after we have been consistent weekly for 304 episodes, even if you lost us for a little while in the transition from being on another network into being on our own, we have been at this for 304 episodes in a row, and we're just creating space for new growth and new things.
Mm-hmm. It's exciting.
It is exciting. Mm-hmm. Before we jump into space, and we're going to tell you guys all about why space is important in manifesting, and we're going to give you some tips on what to do if you're a little bit nervous about what am I going to do with the time that I normally listen to the girls. And Manifest It Now, we'll give you some tips on that. But first, Jen, what are you excited about?
I'm excited about sex.
Yay!
I was just waiting for the reaction. We're doing a sex month in our tribe, and it's just so much fun. I'm loving the conversations. I'm loving the vulnerability and the insights and the fun and the acceptance and all of it. So it feels like the energy, the no joke, like you can feel the sexual energy. It's just like everywhere, and all the experiences that are coming in. And we have singled and coupled and people not interested in sex and people very interested in sex. And so it's such a great diversity and experience to be a part of. And I mean, I'm just loving this energy. So it feels exciting.
Yay. Yes, I will say sex is a super powerful energy, both sides, whether it's somebody who's really wanting to create a very sexual relationship or who is not interested in owning that. Interested might not be the right thing, but it just doesn't call to them, like owning that part of them and being okay with that and is so awesome. And so, maybe in the future we will have a whole season on sex.
Yeah. Ooh, fun.
Right?
What are you excited about, Cass?
I'm excited about everything. I'm excited about this episode, both like it's not an ending, but in some ways it's the end of a chapter and the opening of a new one. And I'm excited about the space because I know what space creates, and I know that space doesn't have to be created when things are too full, and when you do it when it's not super full and you're not needing space, you're just wanting this space to grow and expand, just even more magic happens. And so that's where we are kind of opening up that space for listeners. And so I'm excited about space.
Awesome. Yeah. Let's start by maybe separating, and so just so we know what we're talking about, because there's physical space and emotional space, right?
Yeah. And I would even... Physical space is, so that would be like the physical distance between people, but that emotional, so define emotional space for me, because I might have another one.
Maybe there might be three. So when I was saying physical space, I meant like time in like free time, time that is not filled up with anything to do is like my definition of physical space.
Okay.
And then emotional space is when your mind is relaxed. It's not filled with thoughts. It's not worrying. It's not planning. It's just being and enjoying what is.
Okay, I love those.
What are yours?
I had never thought to define it like that until this moment. For me, it's like what I was thinking as we were doing the introduction is the interesting part of how I'm celebrating space in terms of that free mental space. And nothing has to be wrong to want that more space and just that relaxed space.
Yeah.
And calendar space. And even, for me, I'm doing things that, in all honesty, we are probably going to be investing more time in our podcast, but the way that we're like giving you guys more bonus content. We are planning out our episodes. Like, those are being more intentional, which is taking more time. But the way that we're creating it is creating more space in our life.
So that's actually a really cool definition and example, because that isn't about, it's not an equal one-to-one of time and space. So we're putting in more time, but it feels like bigger space.
Yes.
Because of how we're structuring it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is huge, and a thing that when you learn to do that, it opens up so much in your life, because you're giving yourself more of that relaxation time and more time to go deeper in when you're there. I mean, it really is about it's a deeper presence that you get to have
In that space, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, both of them, right? Like, when you're in it, so just using our podcast as an example, like when we're in the season, we're more present with the season because we're going to be in it and how we're recording it, right?
Yes.
But also we get that other space to be more present when we're not working on the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about, so I've played around with this idea and this feeling, because obviously that's a big feeling that I have created in my business, and I would say that it's probably I've been flexible with it, that it has changed over time, and I keep flexing to what feels good at different times, and I've played around with a little bit of coaching each day, or a week off, a week on, or one day on, that kind of thing. Would you say that it's something that has changed, or that you think changes depending on different things?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that it's different what we create in our life, right? Because when we add something new, it takes its own space, which is good and is a good thing, which is why people talk about creating space when you're trying to manifest something, so that there's room.
Yeah.
But yeah, mine has changed, and I flex with it too. And even life changes, just how everything evolves, changes that and how that feels good. And I think the better that we get at creating space, holding space, diving into the space and being present, the better we get at the space that we're in, the more we want to open it up to be able to be deeper and experience more depth in all the spaces. I don't know if that makes sense, but
it makes total sense. Basically, like you're saying, it's easier to live all of life more fully when we have space in these different areas of our life.
Yeah, and the more of that space you create, the more you see you can create it, that's just the law of attraction, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, just an example of the evolution of my calendar and my schedule. Like, what felt like so much space last year, I'm like, oh, I can get even more and still get what I love, but still have even more space, and have that deeper, when I am in this other space.
Yeah. In terms of, so I can think of this example coming. I know it's been happened in my own life, and I'm sure it's happened with our listeners, is we feel maybe overwhelmed, and we're like, okay, I'm going to create space, so I'm going to take this afternoon off or whatever. I'm going to plan this weekend away, and then we feel stressed. Oh, hello, puppies.
Sorry.
and then we feel stressed the whole weekend, or we're worrying about something on the weekend. And so even though it was physical space, like, your being doesn't actually get a rest or like time off. And I think that's the most important kind of space we need, is feeling like our being has room, has freedom, has space.
Absolutely. Our being has room, has freedom, has space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where like the magic comes from. So when we talk about like how creating space helps your manifesting be the best it can be, it's that like, yes, you do still need physical space, you need time mostly, but like there's a lot of ways to get, and it's likely I know a ton of my coaching is about that. I'm sure Cass is too, is creating that. I'm just going to overuse the word space.
I know,
right? Like, yeah. In
That's
your
how I
feel. Yeah. It's just like this, a freedom to be, your mind is relaxed, and that's space.
It's so much space.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm thinking of so many like animated pictures of this, like visuals of this going through my head, right? Where just there's all these things, and then when there's nothing,
yeah,
there's space to breathe and create, and for your brain to rewire itself.
Mm-hmm. And it's okay. I think feeling or having this experience it doesn't happen overnight. You actually have to kind of learn how to do this and how to be in it, because the first time you have that, or the first time you intentionally create that, your mind's probably going to run and your limiting beliefs are going to come in and say, I should be doing something. And so it really is a skill to practice. And do you want to talk a little bit about kind of holding space?
Holding space for yourself, or like holding the space open?
Holding space for yourself.
Yeah. It is. Yeah, I do. It is. What's I going to say? It is a practice, and it takes a while, and it's a step by step, right? You can't go into this whole thing. Which is why, like, kind of, if you quit your job today and you like sold everything and went to live in a mountain, it would probably not go well.
You'd freak out.
Yes.
You would freak out. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, that's sort of when people get into overwhelm, like that feels like the only thing to do. Yeah. But if you start small and you create space, how can I have a little bit more space in my life? And I'm sure I've shared this story on the podcast before, but even when I was working, I worked more than 40 hours. I would work late, and it was starting to get to me. And I remember just saying, like, okay, well, if you have to work this much, like, what if you work an hour later one night, even though it's already late, like maybe work till 7, but the next night leave at 5, so that it's the same hours, but it feels like that 5 o'clock, that space between work and bed is so much bigger. So there was actually, it was expanded. It was more. Yeah, I felt it more. And that's really where for people would start. I mean, that's what we're talking about on a grander level when we're talking about what we're doing with the podcast and different things, is really that same thing where we're moving things or changing things to get that better feeling, because it didn't take really any more energy. Well, it took less energy to work an extra hour than to, it gave me more than it took energetically. Oh, cool. It wasn't a one-to-one.
That's a great point. When you're looking to start to create space, go for that feeling of like, does it give me more or take more away from me?
Yes.
I was going to ask Cass, what if we were to guide our listeners and kind of like how to start or how to continue creating, how to create more space in your life wherever you're at, what would you say to a few steps? Or
I think the easiest, and it was funny, I was going to say, give yourself 20 minutes of doing nothing. And I was like, oh, that's a lot. 15 for somebody starting.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say, like, doing nothing is so much more productive in the long run than filling it with a tool or, a manifesting something. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so what I was counting back, and I would say start wherever you, but 20 minutes might be overwhelming to somebody who's just starting. Start with intentionally a minute of doing nothing and move up to 5 and then 10 and then 15 and then 20. And then you'll get to where like that, it's a law of attraction, right? The more you do that, the more you're going to feel the pull to do that. Because you're opening up space, and so you're going to want to open up more space. You're creating like attracts like. You're attracting more of that if you're creating it.
I think getting comfortable with not doing anything benefits your manifesting like a million times over. Because how often do we want to try to make things happen, to make our manifesting happen? And if we get so comfortable and just, oh, I know what space feels like, it's easy to trust, you are going to like totally amplify your manifesting.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because doing is easy, because we've been taught to do, right?
Yeah.
Being in this space and learning how to be comfortable there and even enjoy it is where that it comes in.
Yeah, I've been catching myself a lot in that the past few days, because I shared last episode how I just am in this space and just sitting in it, and so I'll like catch myself. I have 10 minutes here, and I'm like, oh, I could flip through Instagram, or I could do this or finish up the dishes, and I'm like, no, that's not the experience you want. Like, you're filling your space, and just be, and it feels so good. It feels so grounding. I love it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I will say for listeners, if you don't have that experience, it just takes practice. It's not that you're doing it wrong, but if you haven't done it and you're not super intentionally doing that cannot feel good, or even for those, I have moments where like I'll forget and I'll kind of get off track, and then I'll be like, nope, I'm going to go back to more intentional space, and it's a little uncomfortable in the beginning, and I have to relax into that, like, nope, that's not what's happening anymore.
Mm-hmm. What about, this thought just popped in, taking space before you need it?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Like one of the things, like one of my old habits in relationships was like get all in and be all about them and totally forget myself, and then not create space until I was like drowning. Right. And so
and in essence, on your way out, like I feel that's on when you create the space.
True. And so it's so much easier when you catch those early signs. And I would venture to say, and this might be a bold statement, but that space can literally fix everything. Is that there's no, like, if you're struggling with anything, start with space. Yeah. And see what comes from there, because it just, you get to reconnect with who you really are, and the answers don't come by trying to fix things. And so just opening the space for and I'm really referring to that, emotional space, that relaxed mental place. That's where the answers or the next step's going to come.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I would go, space can, pretty much fix anything if we're willing and we know how to be in it, and listen, right?
Yes.
To what comes from that. And so this is very interesting because Jenny, I had originally thought like, okay, what can we tell people? There's not going to be a Manifest It Now episode, coming out every Sunday for the next 90 days. And so we kind of had a list of things to tell you. And what I want to do, again, we didn't talk about this beforehand, is to give you this space opening, I don't want to call it a challenge, but a little bit of a challenge, to use that 20 minutes where you would listen to Manifest It Now and don't fill it with something else. Just let it be the space.
Like the space is you being productive.
Yes. And you manifesting. And you learning.
Manifesting, yes.
And you create, all of the things that you want, or the reason that you listen to this show. let those 20 minutes of space and practicing that space be how you're going to create. I mean, it doesn't mean you have to stop anything else, but the 20 minutes that you had allocated for us on Sundays or Mondays or whenever you would listen, give that to yourself in the form of the gift of space. And let us know what happens if you are choosing to step into that space and give yourself that space, because amazing things are going to be happening, especially if you've listened to us for 304 episodes. What's going to start happening in even a deeper level in that space is all those wires are going to connect in your brain of all the things that we have said. You're going to see the answers because you're not seeking the answers. You're going to hear whispers to go do things, and you're going to learn and have the practice of enjoying that space. And that's a pretty powerful place to come back to when you start listening again in January.
I'm so excited. Like, for real, I want to know who's doing this. So email me, email Cassie or I, post in the group, somehow contact us and let us know, like, I'm taking space, and then what's your experience?
Yes. And
I basically love how we're like a manifesting podcast and we're like, go do nothing.
Yes. That is the most powerful thing that you could do for the next 90 days. I am also going to I will execute this. I will get a form up, Jen, so that
cool.
On manifestitnowshow.com, we'll have to, somewhere on the page is going to be, tell us if you're taking space.
About your space.
Yes. Yeah. And that way,
awesome.
This is going to be something very fun and exciting, and I'm excited to hear about it.
Me too.
Awesome.
Well, it has been an absolute joy. Beyond, there are no words, and I can't wait to connect with you all again in our hub and in the new year.
Absolutely. Have a wonderful rest of 2021. Enjoy your space, breathe, allow it, sit in the uncomfortable, and we'll see you in the hub, and we'll be back to take you to the next level in 2022.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Hi, it's Cassie. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Manifest It Now. I hope you're ready to go out and be extra awesome. If you're looking for more resources, support, ways to engage with LOA, or shift your money mindset, you can go to CassieParks.com. That's CassieParks.com and click on complimentary, like cocktails, coaching. Go to CassieParks.com and click on complimentary coaching for more in-depth into LOA, how to shift your money mindset, how to identify your money story, and even more to help you go be even more awesome. CassieParks.com, complimentary coaching.
Go be awesome! Thank you for joining us on the Manifest It Now show, where you learn how to leverage the law of attraction to manifest your dreams. Now that you're inspired, share the love and review us on iTunes. While you're there, remember to subscribe.